All right, guys, welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm excited to talk about the Florida Panthers, their playoff run, and how they got to this point in the season, as it has been a very great run for them. The Florida Panthers have taken down the New York Rangers, as we just talked about, in 6 games. A fantastic series where their defense really dominated, really showed the world what they can be. But before that, it was the Boston Bruins in the second round. They deal with them in 6 games as well. That series was a fantastic one. It showed us really what the Florida Panthers could be when it comes down to these playoffs. That they have that Stanley Cup Finals in them, really run in them. Being the Bruins as they did, they took a heartbreaking game 1 there, losing, was it 6-1, I think it was, and then came back, won 5-1 the next game, 5-2 in game 3. Bruins took game 4, and then in 5 and 6 they were able to deal with the Florida Panthers. Or was it? I think the Florida Panthers were up 3-1, so I think the Bruins actually took game 5. But nevertheless, the Florida Panthers showed a lot of determination in that series. Being able to beat the Boston Bruins is not an easy task. Very physical series, very hard fought one, fast series, fantastic goaltending to beat Jeremy Swayman as they did, who was having a lights out playoff run up to that point, was very impressive for them. So for the Florida Panthers, back to back 6 game series. And then in round 1, they deal with their Florida rivals right across the way from Sunrise in, I believe it's in St. Pete, not actually in Tampa Bay, is where the Tampa Bay Lightning are located. And they beat them in 5 games, dominated the Tampa Bay Lightning. Very impressive as well. The Tampa Bay Lightning, a little bit fall from grace from their, perennial cup runs that it seemed that they were in store for. Nikita Kucherov didn't have the best series in this one. And the Florida Panthers really look great. 5 games against Tampa Bay. 6 games against Boston. 6 games against the Rangers. This is the first series that they don't have home ice advantage for against the New York Rangers, and they deal with them in 6 no matter what. And now they're going against the Edmonton Oilers, and they have home ice advantage again. So Florida's been a great spot. That barn's been rocking the entire postseason. It's been great. So the Panthers, it took them, 12 plus 5, it's 17 games to get to this point. Very efficient playoff run. So for the Florida Panthers, they have been fantastic all season. And when it came down to the regular season, it was Sam Reinhart having an absolute breakout regular season. This is the best hockey we've ever seen him play. It was 57 goals in the regular season, one of the league leaders in goals. 94 points, didn't break that century mark in points, but he still played amazing the entire way nonetheless. It's Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk had 62 assists, so Matthew Tkachuk was Sam Reinhart's left wing, assisting a lot of those goals. It's 88 points for Matthew Tkachuk in the regular season, a plus 19. Alexander Barkov wins the Frank J. Selke Trophy, deservedly so in the regular season, 80 points, but it's plus 33, played amazing defense the entire year. And Alexander Barkov has been one of the best centers in the NHL this year and proves it. Carter Hagee was their 4th leading scorer, 34 goals and 72 points in 76 games. Vladimir Tarasenko played amazing for them, 23 goals in 76 games. Sam Bennett, and then here's where the drop-off kind of starts here. Sam Bennett gets 41 points in 69 games. Evan Rodriguez, 39 points in 80 games. Gustav Forsling, 39 points, tied with Evan for 7th on the team in 79 games. But he's a plus 56 in the regular season, dominating on the defensive side, not out there for a lot of goals against. Gustav Forsling was really great all year. Aaron Ekblad only played in 51 games in this season, didn't get it rolling until late. Gets 18 points. It's one of his worst seasons of his career, but they haven't needed him to be spectacular. He is still a plus 27 in those 51 games. So Aaron Ekblad, still a very impressive season. Plus 27 is very impressive. So when it goes down the board, they didn't get great production out of Kevin Stenlund, 15 points, Nick Cousins, 15 points in 69 games, but still, this team was really great. From top to the bottom, just consistent scoring. Sam Reinhart, 57 goals, really helps. And when it comes down to goaltenders, of course, it's Sergei Bobrovsky that led the way. No Spencer Knight all season for the Florida Panthers, so he had a 2.37 goals against average, 9.15 save percentage. He was spectacular this regular season. These numbers back up his Vezina candidacy, deservedly so. Goes 36, 17, and 4 in his 58 games started. Very, very, very impressive. Very impressive. Sergei Bobrovsky was. He was only yanked from one game all season. He posted 6 shutouts. Dominated, really had 2 assists as well. So there's a reason he's a Vezina candidate, and he definitely can win it. It's between him, Igor, and I think Jeremy Swayman is the 3rd Vezina candidate. So deservedly so for Sergei Bobrovsky. I think if you're going to give the trophy to anyone, this might be recency bias, but Sergei Bobrovsky did just outduel Igor Shesterkin. So it's not a postseason award though, so you can't really take that into account. But it's still on these guys' minds, so it might go to him. Though I think their voting might be up. But in the playoffs, it's been kind of the same guys that are leading the way. Sam Reinhart isn't dominating. It's actually Matthew Tkachuk over a point per game. He is the 4th leading point getter in the playoffs so far. He's tied with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, right behind the Oilers' big 3 in McDavid, Draisaitl, and Evan Bouchard. But it's Matthew Tkachuk at 19 points in 17 games played, a +5. He's still been very good. Carter Verhaeghe, 9 goals in 17 games, 17 points. Alexander Barkov, 17 points in 17 games, +0 though. So that might be something that he needs to turn around and kind of be off the ice. But Gustav Forsling, +11 in the postseason. This top pair with Ekblad and Forsling has been amazing from regular season to postseason. +11 and +9 respectively for those guys. Aaron Ekblad hasn't gotten on the score sheet, but he hasn't had to. He's been dominant defensively, kind of like that Darnell Nurse type. And of course, it's Sergei Bobrovsky, 2.2 goals against average, 908 save percentage. He's won 12 games in this postseason. He has a shutout. He has an assist, doing it all. Played in every game for the Florida Panthers, every minute for the Florida Panthers. He's been lights out, Sergei Bobrovsky. So impressive. But yeah, I mean, the points have been, the top 6, of course, in Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, Barkov, Reinhart, Lindell, and Bennett have been very good. But then when you get into the depth, they aren't really scoring, but they are providing, rare, on occasion they provide, and they're very needed goals when they do provide. So Florida Panthers are a very solid team from top to bottom. This shows it. They've been fantastic all year, and really when you talk about in the regular season, they were the 5th best team in the NHL, only behind the Rangers, Stars, Hurricanes, and Jets, and they tied the Winnipeg Jets in all categories. Tied them in every category. Going into the postseason, the Jets had won 8 games in a row. What a disappointing postseason it was for the Winnipeg Jets. We'll talk more on that in the offseason. That's not a conversation right now. We're only in happy land right now, talking about the Florida Panthers, who's going to the Stanley Cup Final. Florida Panthers, though, 110 points. A lot of teams broke that 100 mark. There were 10 teams over that 100 mark in points on the season, and of course, the Florida Panthers led the Atlantic Division, and now are the top seed in the Stanley Cup Finals, going against the 9-seeded Edmonton Oilers. They were dominant in goals against, posting the 2nd best goals against in all the NHL, only behind the Winnipeg Jets. Once again, very disappointing postseason for them. They were the 2nd best away record in the NHL, only trailing the Dallas Stars. And they had a pretty good goals for record, about 10th, around there in 10th in goals for, scoring 268. They're a +68 in goal differential. That was the best in the NHL. Dominated on both sides of the ice. Doing it without Aaron Ekblad for almost half the year too. So very impressive year for the Florida Panthers, from regular season onto the postseason. You can see how they got to this position. They won the East last year. They are very deservedly so in the Stanley Cup Final. Very excited to see how they play in the Stanley Cup Final. They are the favorites in this Cup Final as well. So we're going to see how this one plays out. But Now we're going to talk about their opponents in the fourth segment of the night, talking about the Oilers, their path to the final, and what their regular season and postseason have looked like up to this point.